It was 4:17 a.m. when Sarah Mitchell bolted upright in bed, gasping like she'd been drowning. Her nightgown stuck to her skin, drenched in cold sweat. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she could hear it pulsing in her ears. Something terrible was going to happen to Emma. Not might happen, was going to happen. She could see it, twisted metal, shattered glass, her daughter's car upside down on a rain-slicked highway. She could smell it, gasoline and burning rubber. She could feel it, the phone call that would destroy her world. And the worst part? She'd already lived through this moment. Yesterday. Or tomorrow. Time had folded in on itself, and Sarah was trapped in the crease. Hello, dear friends. Today we're exploring one of the most disturbing experiences a human mind can have, the absolute certainty that you've lived this moment before, that you know what's coming next, that time itself is broken. By the end of this story, you'll understand what's really happening when your brain whispers, "I've seen this before." And I promise, the truth is stranger and more beautiful than any supernatural explanation. Subscribe if you want more stories about the hidden machinery of your mind. And please, share your own experiences in the comments. What I'm about to tell you happens to more people than you think. Sarah Mitchell was 53 years old, and her life ran like a Swiss watch. Same coffee mug every morning, ceramic, slightly chipped, with "World's Best Mom" fading into obscurity. Same walk to work past the same saxophone player who never learned her name. Same shelves of books at the Portland Public Library where she'd worked for 27 years. She liked it this way. Predictable meant safe. Routine meant sane. Her daughter Emma lived 300 miles north in Seattle, working some tech job Sarah didn't fully understand. They talked every Sunday at 7 p.m. That was the deal. That was the rhythm. Mark, her husband of 30 years, still hummed off-key in the shower every morning, still left his coffee cup on the counter instead of in the sink, still kissed her forehead before leaving for work. These small irritations were the proof that life was normal, solid, real. The library smelled like it always did. Old paper, furniture polish, and the faint mustiness of human history pressed between covers. Sarah loved that smell. It was the smell of order, of things staying where you put them. Tuesday afternoon, she was reshelving in the history section. Her hands moved automatically, finding slots, sliding spines into place. Blue book about World War II. Her fingers touched the cloth binding. And reality cracked. She was doing this. She was about to do this. She had already done this. All three tenses collapsed into one impossible moment. The angle of light through the high windows, the distant cough from the reference desk, the texture of cloth under her fingertips, the temperature of air against her cheek. She lived this exact second before. Her hand froze on the book. Her breath stopped. The world tilted sideways. Then it snapped back. The moment passed. Reality solidified again. Sarah stood very still, gripping the shelf to keep from falling. Her pulse hammered in her throat. "Just tired," she whispered to the empty aisle. "Need more sleep." But her hands were shaking, and the lie tasted like copper in her mouth. That night she stared at the bedroom ceiling while Mark snored beside her. The familiar shadows played across the plaster. The house creaked its familiar creaks. Rain whispered against the window. Everything was normal. Everything was wrong. Because she'd lived this night before. The pattern of shadows. The rhythm of Mark's breathing, the cool cotton against her back. She knew what would happen next. A car would pass outside in exactly 7 seconds. She counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Headlights swept across the ceiling. Sarah's blood turned to ice water. The premonitions started small. She'd reach for her coffee cup, and her hand was already moving before she decided to drink. She'd turn toward the door 3 seconds before someone walked through. She'd open her mouth to speak and realize the words were already formed, already inevitable, like reading from a script she'd memorized in another life. Her best friend Linda noticed. They were having lunch at their usual place, the cafe with the chipped tile floor and the espresso machine that screamed like a dying animal. "You okay?" Linda asked. "You've been staring at the door for like a minute." "Mrs. Patterson is about to walk in," Sarah said, "in her green coat. She'll order a latte with oat milk." Linda laughed. "How do you—" The door opened. Mrs. Patterson, green coat, ordered a latte with oat milk. Linda's smile died. "Sarah, that was really fucking weird."
I know. How did you? I don't know. But that was a lie. She did know. She'd seen it before it happened, felt it before it arrived. Her brain was living 3 seconds in the future, and consciousness was struggling to catch up. The episode with Emma happened 2 weeks later. 4:17 a.m., Sarah woke with her daughter's death already playing in her mind like a movie she'd watched 1,000 times, every detail crystal clear. The wet highway, the semi-truck, the moment Emma's hands lost the wheel. She called. Emma answered, groggy and confused and alive. "Mom, it's 4 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Promise me you won't drive today, please." "I have to work." "Promise me." The desperation in her voice made Emma pause. Okay, Mom, I'll work from home. Are you okay? Should I call Dad?" After hanging up, Sarah sat in the dark, trembling. Mark's hand found her shoulder. "You can't live like this," he said quietly. "You can't call our daughter at 4 a.m. because you had a bad dream." "It wasn't a dream." "Then what was it?" "I don't know," the words came out as a sob. "I don't know what's happening to me." Mark turned on the bedside lamp. His face was creased with worry and something else, fear. He was afraid of her. "You need to see someone. A doctor. Please." She wanted to argue, but he was right. Whatever was happening to her brain, it was getting worse.
At work the next day, she couldn't focus. Every moment felt doubled, tripled, like she was experiencing reality through a broken mirror. She'd walk down an aisle and simultaneously be walking down it again. She'd reach for a book and her hand would arrive before her intention. Her supervisor found her in the break room, staring at nothing. "Sarah, I've been calling your name for 30 seconds. "Sorry, I'm not feeling well. Take the rest of the day. You look terrible." She did. She could see herself in the bathroom mirror, pale, hollow-eyed, like someone was scooping her out from the inside. That evening, Emma sent a text. "Mom, the weirdest thing happened. I was about to leave for work this morning, and I just got this overwhelming feeling that I shouldn't drive. So I stayed home, and then I saw on the news there was a huge pileup on I-5, right where I would have been, right around the time I would have been there." Sarah read the message 3 times. Her hands went numb. She'd known. She'd actually known. Across 300 miles, she'd felt her daughter's danger and warned her, and Emma had listened, and Emma was alive. But that was impossible. That was insane. Unless it wasn't. Dr. Patricia Chin's office was on the 5th floor of a building that smelled like disinfectant and anxiety. Sarah sat in the waiting room, watching other people flip through magazines, and wondered if any of them could also see the future. "Sarah Mitchell?" Dr. Chin was younger than Sarah expected, confident, sharp-eyed. She led Sarah into an office filled with books and certificates, and a potted plant that was slowly dying on the windowsill. "Tell me what's been happening." Sarah told her everything, the déjà vu, the premonitions, the feeling of living moments before they happened, Emma's near accident, the growing certainty that she was either going insane or developing some kind of terrible gift. Dr. Chin listened without interrupting, took notes, nodded occasionally. When Sarah finished, the doctor set down her pen. "I'm going to say something that might surprise you. You're not crazy, and you're not psychic, but you are experiencing something real." "Then what is it?" "Your brain is showing you its own machinery. The predictions it's been making your entire life, you're suddenly seeing them happen in real time." Sarah frowned. "I don't understand." Dr. Chin leaned forward. "Every single moment of your life, your brain is making guesses about what's going to happen next. It has to. Because the reality is, and this is going to sound strange, you don't actually experience the present moment. There's a delay, about half a second between when something happens and when you become consciously aware of it." "Half a second?" "Yes. So your brain fills that gap with predictions. It looks at patterns from your past, calculates probabilities, and shows you what it expects to happen. Usually those predictions are so accurate that you never notice them. You think you're experiencing reality directly, but you're actually experiencing your brain's best guess about reality." Sarah felt dizzy. "So when I know what's going to happen?" You're becoming aware of your brain's prediction before reality catches up. The prediction and the actual event are supposed to feel simultaneous, but somehow you're noticing the gap. You're seeing the guess before you see the answer. "But what about Emma? I knew she was in danger. How does your theory explain that?" Dr. Chen's expression softened. "You worry about your daughter constantly. Every parent does. Your brain generates thousands of anxious predictions about her safety. Most of them never come true, so you forget them immediately. But that one night, one of those predictions happened to align, purely by coincidence, with an actual dangerous situation. Your brain didn't cause the accident risk. It didn't predict it. You just remembered the one worry that matched reality and forgot all the others. The explanation made sense. It was logical, scientific, rational. So why did it feel like a lie? Sarah tried to believe Dr. Chen. She really did. She took the tests, the MRI, the cognitive assessments, the neurological workup. Everything came back normal. Your brain is healthy, Dr. Chen assured her. This is just awareness. You're seeing how the machinery works. Most people never do. But knowing the science didn't stop the experiences. They got worse. She'd be talking to Mark, and she'd hear his next sentence before he spoke it. She'd be walking down the street, and she'd see herself turning the corner 3 seconds before her body did it. She'd reach for objects her conscious mind hadn't decided to grab yet. The worst part wasn't the predictions. It was the doubt. What if Dr. Chen was wrong? What if this wasn't just brain mechanics? What if Sarah actually could see slivers of the future? Linda stopped having lunch with her after the incident at the cafe. It's just, you're freaking me out, Sarah. The way you know things, it's not natural. Mark started sleeping in the guest room. I need space, he said. You're not yourself lately. Her supervisor at the library pulled her aside. People are complaining. They say you're acting strange, staring at nothing, talking to yourself. I'm going to need you to take a leave of absence. Get yourself together. Sarah was losing everything. Her friend, her husband's trust, her job, all because she could see 3 seconds into the future. Or thought she could. One night, alone in the house, Mark was working late or maybe avoiding her. Sarah stood in the kitchen and decided to test it. She'd predict something specific, something that couldn't be explained by pattern recognition or lucky guesses. She closed her eyes, focused on the feeling of certainty that came before the premonitions, reached for that sense of knowing. She saw it. Mark would walk through the door in 7 minutes. He'd be carrying white roses. He'd say, I'm sorry. The flowers would have a small card. She could almost read it, but not quite. Sarah opened her eyes and checked the clock. 8:47 p.m. She waited. At 8:54, the door opened. Mark walked in, empty-handed. Hey, he said tiredly. I'm beat, going to bed early. No flowers, no apology, nothing. Sarah felt something break inside her chest, relief mixed with disappointment, mixed with shame. Dr. Chen was right. She wasn't seeing the future. She was just anxious and hyper-aware and desperately looking for patterns and randomness. She was losing her mind in the most ordinary way possible. 2 months later, Sarah sat in Dr. Chen's office again. She'd been practicing what the doctor taught her, noticing her predictions without believing them, recognizing pattern matching without treating it as prophecy. It helped. The premonitions still happened, but they felt less magical, more mechanical, her brain showing its work. How are things at home? Dr. Chen asked. Better. Mark moved back into the bedroom. We're talking again, really talking. And work? I go back next week, part-time at first. That's good progress, Sarah. I have a question, though. Sarah hesitated. The accident. Emma's accident that didn't happen? You said it was coincidence. But what if on some level, I did pick up on something? Not psychically, but maybe I noticed something in her voice the last time we talked, some stress, some distraction, and my brain calculated that she was more likely to have an accident, and I warned her, and she listened. Dr. Chen smiled. That's exactly right. Your unconscious mind is incredibly sophisticated. It notices micro-expressions, voice tone, tiny behavioral changes that your conscious mind completely misses. Then it runs calculations and delivers the result as intuition or gut feeling. You weren't seeing the future. You were reading your daughter better than you realized. And that's not magic. That's love. That's a mother's brain doing what it evolved to do. Sarah felt tears prickling her eyes. So I'm not special. Oh, Sarah, everyone's brain does this. You just became aware of it. And that awareness, being able to see how your own mind constructs reality, that actually is special. Most people live their whole lives inside the illusion. You've seen behind the curtain. Like the Matrix. Exactly like the Matrix. Sarah left the appointment feeling lighter.
She walked past the coffee shop, past the park, past the saxophone player. Everything felt more solid now, more real. But that night, something strange happened. She was reading before bed when the feeling came again, stronger than ever, a bone-deep certainty. Mark was about to say something, something important. In 3, 2, 1, Sarah? She looked up. I've been thinking about something, Mark said slowly. That night you called Emma, 4 a.m., you said you saw her accident before it happened. Mark, we've been through this. It was just anxiety. Let me finish. I've been thinking about it, and I realized something. That morning, before you called her, I woke up too, around 4 a.m. I didn't say anything because you seemed so panicked, but I woke up with this weird feeling, like something was wrong, and I thought, just for a second, I thought about Emma. Sarah's breath stopped.
I didn't have a vision or whatever, Mark continued, but I felt it too. Something about that night. And then when I heard about the pileup on I-5, exactly where Emma would have been, he looked at his wife. Maybe we both picked up on something. Or maybe it was just coincidence. But Sarah, I'm not sure anymore. That night, Sarah lay awake long after Mark fell asleep. She thought about coincidences and pattern recognition and the 300-millisecond delay in human perception. She thought about Dr. Chin's explanations and Mark's doubt and Emma's last text message. And she thought about the truth, that maybe, just maybe, the line between brain mechanics and genuine intuition was thinner than anyone wanted to admit. Outside, rain began to fall. Sarah listened to it tap against the window. A familiar sound, a predictable sound. But prediction wasn't prophecy. Patterns weren't destiny. Her brain could guess all it wanted. Reality still had the power to surprise her. And that was okay. That was human. She closed her eyes and drifted toward sleep, wondering what tomorrow would bring, glad that she didn't actually know. But just before sleep took her, she had one last thought. Or do I? 6 months after her first episode of déjà vu, Sarah Mitchell walks through her life differently. Not because she can see the future, she can't, but because she's learned to see herself. She notices her predictions now, the way her brain fills in what people will say before they say it, the way her hand reaches for her coffee cup before she's decided to drink, the tiny lag between the world and her experience of it. She's learned that premonitions aren't supernatural. They're the most natural thing in the world. Your brain trying to keep you safe by showing you what it expects to happen next. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's catastrophically wrong. That's the price of consciousness. But here's what Sarah also learned, and this is the part that Dr. Chin couldn't quite explain. Sometimes our brains are picking up on things so subtle, so microscopic, that even we don't know we know them. A mother's intuition isn't magic. It's a million tiny observations calculating danger before logic can explain why. The temporal paradoxes, the time loops, the déjà vu, the feeling that you've lived this moment before, they're glitches in the machinery. Your brain showing its work, the predictions becoming briefly visible before reality catches up. Sarah still doesn't know if she saved Emma's life that night, or if it was just a lucky coincidence. Maybe she never will. And she's okay with that uncertainty now. Because the truth is, we're all time travelers. Every single one of us is living half a second in the past, experiencing a carefully constructed present moment that our brains are creating from delayed sensory data and educated guesses. You think you're seeing reality. You're actually seeing your brain's prediction of reality. And most of the time, it's so accurate that you never notice the difference. Until you do. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever woken up knowing something was wrong? Have you ever warned someone about danger you couldn't possibly have known about? Have you ever lived a moment before it happened? Felt déjà vu so strong it seemed like you were caught in a time loop? Share your stories in the comments, because Sarah's experience isn't rare, it's just rarely talked about. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more explorations of the strange machinery running inside your skull, and share this with someone who's experienced these impossible moments. Your brain is making predictions about the future right now. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. You just don't notice because they're so accurate. But every once in a while, the curtain pulls back. The machinery becomes visible, and you catch a glimpse of how your mind actually constructs the present moment from fragments of past and future.
Thank you for listening, dear friends. Pay attention to your certainties. Question your intuitions. Notice the lag between prediction and reality. And remember, the present moment you're experiencing right now, you're already living in its past. Sweet dreams.